Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Southside Beat here on the DK Pittsburgh Sports Steelers YouTube channel and podcasting network. Chris Halicke here, Matt Williamson, also here. What's going on, my friend? How you doing?
I'm good, dude. How are you? Getting ready to go to the owners' meetings tomorrow, so it sounds like you are as well. We'll see each other down there.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Excited about it. Palm Beach. It's my first time going to the one in Palm Beach, so excited about that.
I hear it's pretty awesome. I mean, I hear like not the hotel we're staying at, but where the owners are staying at is pretty awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. I remember like there was last year when we had the meeting with Omar Khan. I don't know, but it was like afterward or something like that. I was like, all right, well, we got to head back to our hotel before, the NFL, media reception thing that goes on one of the nights there. And Omar was like, you guys aren't staying here? It's like, no,
nope.
No, we're not staying here. My company will not pay for me to stay here. So,
it's one of the nicest resort hotels, I guess, in the country, from what I understand. Yeah,
it's crazy. So, so there's. I'm gonna put my glasses on here so I can see the TV screen better.
Good.
All right. And Kyle says, question for the boys. Bring on the questions.
Yeah, sure.
We're happy to answer questions here. So, I am. I wrote something today on DKPittsburghSports.com, and it was meant to just be a couple of paragraphs. I ended up going into a whole thing about it. I don't understand, other than the fact that there's nothing else to talk about right now, the fascination that a lot of people are having with Jackson Dart or Jalen Milroe or whoever else like that, or in that tier of the quarterbacks in this draft, going to the Steelers at 21st overall. There have been a lot of mock drafts that are having Jackson Dart going 21. One national talking head said, or I'll even say reported, that he heard that the Steelers are interested in Jalen Milroe at 21. I don't buy it.
No.
Just what's your immediate reaction to that? Other than, is it just that we have nothing else to talk about right now, so that's what everybody is wanting to just do, is just, let's just throw, pun intended here, darts at a dartboard?
Somewhat. So a couple things. I believe the Steelers are interested in Jalen Milroe. End of sentence. Not at 21. They took him to dinner. I think they're interested. Of course. I know that Andy Weidel was at Mississippi's Pro Day today. He should be. They have prospects galore, and it sounds like Jackson Dart's coming in for a visit. Good. This is scouting. This is what you're supposed to do.
Exactly.
Now, I also think I know that quarterbacks get pushed up, and there is a shortage, and there are teams that are short, and that's how this league works, and they get overdrafted, and that absolutely happens. Now, the two mockers, draftniks, that I trust most in terms of their knowledge of what the league tells them, their friends in the league, are Mel Kiper and Daniel Jeremiah. And both of them had Dart going either 9 to the Saints or the Steelers at 21. And just doing this as long as I have, I think, and I know those two not really well, but I've run across them. I think they want to get Dart in the first round. Like Daniel Jeremiah is the first one to tell you, I mock with my ears, not my eyes. It doesn't mean he thinks Dart's a great player. He just is hearing that he's going to go in the first round. So I don't doubt that Jackson Dart's a first-round player, all those things being considered. And we all have editors and have had to write things that if I have to write a first-round mock, I can't give them to Kansas City or Buffalo or Baltimore. I got to stick him somewhere if I think he's going in round 1. And number 21 is a very obvious spot to do it as we sit here at the end of March,
I totally get that. I understand that. And I do think that, ultimately when you look at a quarterback class like this one, which doesn't blow me away, I also don't think it's as bad as 22.
I'm warming up to it, but it's not great.
It's not a great class. And I think that's what, whenever we were saying that, I don't want to say either I was saying it or you were saying it, or just like the general consensus that this wasn't a good quarterback class. When we were saying that earlier in the offseason, again, a lot of people take that as one extreme or the other. You're either saying that a quarterback class is the best one that's ever been,
Sure.
or it's the worst quarterback class ever. It's not like that. But how many of these guys are going to turn into potential franchise quarterbacks? You know, you put it against like a 2004 class, that the benchmark there is not just 3 franchise quarterbacks, but 3 potential Hall of Famers.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to get that with this class.
You're
most
not getting,
likely.
certainly not last year's class. We don't know if they're going to be successful or not, but that was crazy. You know, right?
Right. And so all of that, like, considered, I understand that quarterbacks still carry a lot of weight, and that most likely there will be more than 2 quarterbacks that go in the first round.
Agreed.
Just because it's the quarterback position. There will be a team that's willing to take a risk. I just don't see the Steelers being the team to take that risk. It seems like a move that would be desperate.
Yeah.
And I don't get desperate from the way Omar Khan runs things when it comes to the draft. I just don't get that.
I 1000% agree. So I very much, one of my favorite podcasts that I've done on the DK network, I did 2 days ago, and I got tons of great responses from all of our listeners. That was wonderful. And I really spelled out how I really want to use this draft to build the nest to go get the quarterback next year. Yeah. I want to draft linemen like crazy. I don't know if you listened to it, but it got a lot of great responses.
It was a good one for sure.
Yeah. And it's just a different way of looking at things. I don't think they need offensive line help, but I'm taking it anyways because I just want to prepare for next year's first round pick. And I think this year's a little premature for a couple of reasons, because I don't think that nest is ideal landing spot, a soft enough spot for that egg to land.
Mm-hmm.
And I really think that if you don't go D-line early in this draft, it messes up your draft class pretty bad. You know, I mean, it just the path you take after that, whether you can get back in the second round or not, or whatever. I really want to take a big man on defense to lead off my draft, not a quarterback for another day. Unless you think he's phenomenal, I just don't think he's phenomenal.
And that's what, like, somebody here watching live said, no one thought Brock Purdy or Tom Brady were guys either. But
neither did the rest of the league for 6 rounds.
Exactly. Tom Brady.
They're anomalies.
Yeah. Tom Brady was a 6th round pick. Brock Purdy was a 7th round pick. He was Mr. Irrelevant. But neither the 49ers or Patriots drafted them to be their franchise quarterback. That's right. What you do whenever you take a quarterback in the first round. If the Steelers were to take Will Howard, who I know they're interested in the 4th round, he turns into something, that's phenomenal. That's
Dak Prescott in the 5th.
Right. That's what those rounds are for when you talk about those type of quarterback prospects. You're not taking Tom Brady in the first round based off of what he did at Michigan. No, because nobody did.
Right. So big picture scouting, I'm very much a believer. Take a quarterback every year. Take a quarterback 3 out of 4 years. I mean, somewhere, because if you get Purdy, if you get Dak, let alone Brady, I mean, no one's going to get the best player ever in the 4th round. I mean, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Then it's a home run. Let alone if you get a long-term backup. If you get a Mason Rudolph-like player in the 6th round, that's a score. I mean, it's economic value, et cetera, et cetera. Like I know that you're probably even young for this, but during the Favre era, they drafted Brunell, Hasselbeck, like they always kept drafting dudes, and a lot of them turned into really good NFL quarterbacks. And I got no problem with 3rd round or later, but I also have a little bit of reservation, like Howard, for example.
Mm-hmm.
Because you have Rudolph, I don't need another Rudolph. I mean, I want a big swing, and to me, that's next year.
Yeah.
Or Milrow,
Yeah. So, like, when you talk about Will Howard and you said Mason Rudolph, if I do happen to do a scouting report on Will Howard, I am going to put Mason Rudolph as
they have a lot of similarities.
They have a lot of similarities.
Right.
Yeah, it's interesting. Anyway, let's take a break real quick, and then we'll pick this back up. But I do want to kind of steer this in a direction of, okay, Steelers traded away a 2nd round pick. So now they only have 6 picks in this draft. How do you navigate that? Do you when do you take a swing on a quarterback? Do you just go ahead and go Jackson Dart in the 1st round or whatever? Or how do you navigate it? We'll get into all of that right after we come back from this quick break.
At DK Pittsburgh Sports, we take pride in coverage that connects our city's fans to their favorite teams. Now, that connection's stronger than ever. Introducing our all-new state-of-the-art app. Find expert inside reporting and original podcasts. Check live box scores. Track the latest stats. Chat it up with our community of thousands of fans, all in one place. The new app from DK Pittsburgh Sports. Coverage that connects.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Southside Beat. 6 picks in the upcoming draft. It'll be a lot different in 26 because they are
very different.
Stacking up the comp picks with all the free agents that are leaving. I mean, they could end up, if Russell Wilson and Justin Fields hit all of their incentives and snap counts and everything that they need to, the Steelers could have 4 third-round picks next year.
Unlikely, but possible.
Unlikely, right.
Yeah. But they're probably going to end up with 4 comp picks, which is the max. Between rounds 3 and 6, you know. Right?
And I don't even think it's all of that unrealistic to think that Russell Wilson could turn into a third rounder because his money, if he plays and he hits all the incentives, and it's a bad Giants team, so I would assume the incentives are you have to throw for 5,000 yards. To go from $10.5 million to $21 million, like, I think that's possible. And either way, that would at least turn it from a 5th rounder into at least a 4th rounder. Either way, they're going to end up with a lot of draft picks.
Mm-hmm.
But this year it's not like that. They have 6 picks. Now the 2nd round pick was used to get DK Metcalf, so you could just view that as they took a receiver in the 2nd round. And the great thing about taking that receiver in the 2nd round is that you already know how he plays at the NFL level. There's no guessing.
Yep. He's probably better than the guy you would have drafted in the 2nd round.
Exactly. So how do you navigate the draft now? Because do you just view it that way that we took a receiver in the 2nd round? We just already kind of knew. So are you comfortable sitting at 21 overall and taking best player available at a position of need? And then are you okay with sitting still and not picking again until 83?
I'm going to mention that podcast a couple times because I've really lasered my focus a little bit. And a lot of it was after Wilson got signed because, boom, there's another comp pick. You have so many assets for next year to move up and get the guy you love and don't like. And so I really want to structure things in that light, me personally. As it stands right now, I also did a podcast on this. The Commanders and Vikings are the only teams in the league with less draft capital than the Steelers right this minute. Mm-hmm. But DK Metcalf's a part of that. Laramie Tunsil's a part of that. Deebo Samuel's a part of that, et cetera, et cetera. You know, they traded him for a reason. Mm-hmm. I very much want to use a 1st-round pick on a defensive tackle. And now that could be a trade down. I think there's 3 scenarios where you could gain draft capital. Obviously, trading down from 21. I just don't know who is the player the team X wants to trade up for in this draft.
Exactly.
Maybe there is one. Maybe there's a run on offensive tackles or the edge guys are flying off the board or whatever it is. You know, number 1 receiver's still there. It's possible. I just don't see an obvious target.
Wasn't there one mock draft? I don't remember who did it where the first receiver didn't go until like 25 or 26.
Yeah. Most of them have only 2 going right now in the 1st round. I think that's
crazy to me. I have 1st-round grades on like 4 receivers. Like that's just me personally. I like Ted, I like Burden and Egbuka and Golden. Like I would think all of those guys are 1st-round guys.
Yeah, I tend to agree, but it's not hard to come up with 50 names you think are 1st-round picks,
right?
And 32 of them go. You know.
Yeah.
So again, there's 3 routes to me to get more draft capital.
Mm-hmm.
Trade back in round 1. That to me is most likely in best case scenario, especially to me. If Nolan, Harmon, and Grant are all available, that'd be wonderful.
Souring on Nolan, by the way.
You are souring on Nolan.
Today was Ole Miss Pro Day, and I think he only did bench press or something like he.
I didn't see any result.
He opted to not participate in a lot of the workouts, and just he didn't work out at the combine. He didn't work out at Ole Miss. Like, what are you hiding? Like, why aren't you participating?
Mm-hmm.
Those are red flags to me.
Yeah. I'll have to look into that, but I didn't know that until just now. I mean, physically, I don't have any issues with him. You know, what I
Right.
mean?
No,
Yeah,
he's like when I watched him at the Senior Bowl, I'm like, he moves differently than everybody else here.
no doubt, no doubt.
And that's So anyway, like not to interrupt or anything, but
Cool.
You mentioned Nolan, and like Nolan to me is like on paper, yeah, absolutely first round guy, absolutely. But me personally, I'm starting to sour on Nolan the more and more this is developing through the combine, now through the Ole Miss Pro Day. I'm just a little concerned. And then somebody watching brought this up. This started around the combine. Doesn't Nolan also have some character issues? I don't know for sure on that stuff. That was the scuttlebutt at the combine, but
Dale and I have been looking into this like crazy and can't find anything confirmed. Right. Everyone just says, doesn't he have character issues? But no one's like, well, what'd he do? And the one thing I heard this morning, which is fifth-hand information, was the people at A&M are talking bad on him because I guess he told some recruits that A&M offers NIL money and doesn't always give it to you. You know, like I guess there's some bad blood between him and A&M. I don't know. I mean, I've never met any of these people. It's just the one thing I heard. I could be making that up.
And that's and that's for the Steelers to decide.
Yeah. When I was at the Browns, we had a Secret Service agent that used to run with President Bush, do our background checks. Like, they're a little more dialed into me and you with these guys' backgrounds. I mean, they'll figure it out just a smidge, you know. Yeah. But anyway, you can trade down in round one. Mm-hmm. You could trade a future pick that you own now. You can't trade a future comp pick they have not been rewarded with yet. Yep. But you could trade your future, the third that you own, the second you own. I am not interested at all in trading a first or second round pick next year, no matter what the case. Not even a little. No. And if I trade a fourth next year, that probably gets you a fifth this year. Or if I trade a third next year, that gets you a fourth this year.
I'm not super
excited about any of that. Right.
I don't want to trade any picks from next year. Like, my personal stance is I don't want to trade any picks from next year because I want to have
a quarterback, all
of the ammunition you possibly need to go get the quarterback next year. Because I think just from my initial, there's a whole college season to play. So Arch Manning might not even come out. Like, he may not even
care who the names are. Right. Yeah.
Right. Drew Aller could pull a Joe Burrow where he was a day 2 or day 3 pick before his last year at LSU. And then he turned into what was he picked overall? First overall, whatever it was. Joe Burrow. Like,
he was one. Yeah.
Yeah. What he did, like Drew Aller could do that, or Drew Aller could do nothing in his last year at Penn State. And we don't know, but on paper right now, it looks like it's going to be a better quarterback class. But either way, you want to be loaded up because what if there is one guy in that class that you absolutely want to go get and you have 11 picks? You can
I'll trade the 2027 first if I love that guy. I'll give you anything you want if there's a guy I love, you know.
Yep, exactly.
And then the other option to me is trading Pickens, which I don't see that happening soon. And I'd rather see the offense with him than without him right now. So if you don't trade back in round one, you're probably not going to pick in round two, you know.
Yeah, I think I think the Steelers are going to try to find a creative way to get another day 2 pick. It might not be a second round pick, but it could be possibly another third.
Yeah,
because there's not a gigantic drop off on day 2 like there is on day 1.
No, I'd love to get a lot of picks there, but I don't know how you get a lot of picks.
Right, and so like if you trade back. You know, let's say I forget who's picking where, but let's just say you could trade back 4 spots in the first round. That might not get you a second round pick, but what if it gets you a third? You know,
yeah, right.
And so, okay, now you've got 2/3. Now you can at least go get another position on that day 2. Because, like I said, the drop off from first overall to 32nd overall versus the drop off from 33rd to whatever the last pick is in the third round isn't nearly as steep of a decline.
No, it's a nice well to be fishing in, you know.
Correct. And so this isn't a very top heavy draft, but it is a pretty deep draft in terms of there's no point in the first 2 days of the draft in which it just takes a nosedive off of a cliff. And so if you can add that, you can go get yourself another defensive tackle. You can get your running back. You could possibly add another receiver if you have plans to not keep George Pickens past 2025, whether that's just like we're not giving him the franchise tag, we're just going to let him walk, whatever it is. You have another, like if Trey Harris is available with wherever you're picking, I'm really intrigued because I think Trey Harris is really fascinating.
I like the player. Yeah.
Yeah. So just throwing a name out there, it could be, Savion Williams for some people, whatever it is. Either way, I do think it's going to be an interesting night or a couple of nights for the Steelers if they only have 2 picks on those 2 days. I agree that they have to take a defensive tackle, and I think they are prioritizing defensive tackle. I don't think that's just a theory.
A great tackle draft.
It's a great class. I would argue it might be the best position, maybe outside of edge rusher. But the Steelers don't need an edge rusher. Like they have TJ Watt.
And running back strong too. I mean, running back and D tackle or where you want to fish,
Let's just say for the sake of it, they took Kenneth Grant in the first round. Now, 3rd round comes.
And real quick, Chris, I'd have a hard time trading away from Grant in round 1.
I do too. I think if he's there, you take him.
You might just take him and be like, oh, well, we don't have a 2nd round pick, such as life, But could be special.
If he's gone and it's like Nolan and Harmon and Hampton are still there, and I could trade back 3 spots, and I'm almost guaranteed to get one of those 3 guys, I'm more than happy doing that. And if I could pick up another 3rd round pick by doing that, then maybe you stand a chance of getting Josh Farmer or Alfred Collins or whoever else in the 3rd round, where you're with one of those 3rd round picks. It's not as great of a player as Kenneth Grant Kenneth Grant's not there. It's not as good of a player as Walter Nolan or Derek Harmon, but it's still a player that could turn into somebody.
No doubt.
But let's just say the Steelers pick Kenneth Grant at 21. What running backs could realistically be there in the 3rd round at 83 that are there? Or first question, what running back, or is there a running back there that is capable of being inserted right away into being the 1B to Jaylen Warren's 1A? And which running backs intrigue you the most in that spot?
I think there's a ton because frankly, I don't think you have to get a special guy.
Yeah.
Hampton's different. He's one I would consider high. Genty will be gone. Then it's the 2 Ohio State guys. I think they'll probably have 0 chance of being there for the Steelers' 3rd round pick.
No.
I don't know that Caleb Johnson gets there. And then at that point, I think I'm waiting till round 4 for Damian Martinez, Tootin. I really like Scatabo. I don't think he gets to 4. There's so many. Devin Neal, I think, is a good player.
I like Devin Neal too.
RJ Harvey.
Yeah, I like Devin Neal in the fit for so Giddens to me is the one in the 3rd round. Where if you're there at 83rd overall and you've got your defensive tackle, I'm all over DJ Giddens. Like that's my pick to me. The size mixed with the patience and the ability to run outside zone, like I like it a lot. I really, really like the player in that spot. Damian Martinez is interesting to me too. I think he's a better gap runner than he is a zone runner, but he also did run zone before he transferred to Miami. So it's not like it's a foreign concept to him.
Sure.
He's
hard to tackle.
The one thing, this is my hot take when it comes to running back. So I'm not a draft like guru or anything like that. So I don't sit there and do like power rankings, but if I were to power rank running backs, I don't have Cam Scatabo. He's barely in my top 10.
Okay.
It's not because I don't like the runner, like the runner. I think he's fascinating, but he runs like he has a death wish.
It's a little bit of a fairy tale too. I don't know that he's long for the league.
That's what I'm saying.
I mean, I only got to get 4 years out of him.
That's what I'm saying.
But right, I hear what you're saying.
But okay. Like if you think that he can last 4 years and be able to play at least 14 games a year, then I'm all for it. Because you sign the contract, you're good for 4 years. Maybe if he stays healthy, surprisingly, you franchise tag him, you get that 5th year, and then you can just walk. But like I said, he runs like he has a death wish, and I'm so scared of something like that where he runs like he is trying to kill everybody else who's on the other side of the football, and it's fascinating, and it's gonna make fans go nuts, like in a good way.
In a good way. There will be Scatterbo jerseys everywhere.
Yes, there
Right,
will.
right.
But man alive, all it's going to take is one time for him to get a really bad concussion or to get a broken collarbone, because whatever it is, like you can make yourself as strong as you want to with muscles. Bones can only handle so much contact.
And he's not the greatest athlete, too. If he blows out a knee or a lower body thing and loses a little bit of agility, a little bit of burst, he doesn't have it to lose, Yeah. I don't know. I keep referencing this podcast. I'm drafting big people, and I might take it back in the 4th round, and I can find it back. I mean, I'll sign J.K. Dobbins. You know what I mean? It's a good back class. I want to. I like R.J. Harvey, Brick. I mean, there's a lot of names I like, but I don't know that I'm going crazy for a running back because I'm building for the quarterback.
Right. Okay. So here's the thing for you. If you get to 21 and for whatever reason, everybody, like the first 20 teams, are loving the defensive tackles.
Yeah, they're rolling.
Mason Graham's gone, Kenneth Grant's gone, Derek Harmon's gone, and Walter Nolan. They're all gone. But Amari and Hampton's still there. Are you taking him?
Probably, because he's pretty special. I wouldn't love my draft build with that start. But I'm sure at that point he would be my highest graded player at a position of need. I think he's really good. I also don't think he'll be there, but I think he's really good.
I don't think he'll be there either.
Yeah. I don't know if he gets past Denver.
I remember, that's the team, because I remember like the first time there was a mock draft and Ashton Genty went all the way to 21. I'm like, there is no way Ashton Genty gets out of the top 10, much less fall all the way to 21.
Right.
Like I keep saying, like, if he's there at 15 for whatever stupid reason, you trade up and you go get him. Like, that's what I would do.
The best player in the draft. I think he's the second best player in the draft besides Hunter.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. So when do you, okay, really quick, just to kind of round this out, since we were talking quarterbacks near the beginning, when are you comfortable taking a quarterback? If you took your defensive tackle in the first round and Jalen Milroe's there,
Milroe at 3.
You would. Okay.
I'd consider it strongly. Yeah. He's less and less. I like the players. I love Shuck. I don't think he's any chance to get the 3. No. I give Milroe a 30% chance to get the 3. And the McCords and the Howards, they're a little Rudolph-ish. I mean, if I'm planning on getting one next year, and I know Rudolph's going to be back next year, I can't stress this enough. I mean, I'm really thinking about next year, and I still think the Steelers could win games this year and go to the playoffs, especially if Aaron Rodgers ever decides to be a player. If that's your quarterback. But I'm drafting an offensive tackle before a running back. Maybe I know tackle's not a need, but
it could be.
I want a surplus there.
It could be past
not going to be back next year, and right.
That's
give me the positions I can't get in the open market.
That's the one thing when it comes to tackle. I mean, I've already had questions like, are people going to, is it time to give up on Broderick Jones? I say no.
But I don't pick up a 5th-year option.
I mean, if he has another year in which he either is stagnant or barely gets better, I don't think they pick up his 5th-year option.
No, and 5th-year options are really expensive.
Yeah, and now all of a sudden you're looking at, okay, now tackle is going to be a need again.
Yeah, I don't want tackle to be a need. You got to get ahead of these things. I always want an extra offensive lineman. Again, that podcast I did is all about, if Dan Moore's worth a 3rd-round pick 2 years from now and $20 million to the Titans, you just draft them. They're gold. Yeah. You just keep taking them. I want Grant from William and Mary just to sit around for a year.
Yeah.
Be my 6th offensive lineman in goal line. Or what if someone gets hurt, What if Tanu is a good tackle, but he's Zach Martin at guard?
That was always the thing with Troy Fautanu was, is he going to stick at tackle? Because
I think he will, but I don't know it.
He's athletic enough to do it.
Yeah, I think so too. He's also got great arm length, and I think
his feet are ridiculous.
Yeah,
his footwork is stupid. Like, I think he could play left tackle. Like,
people like hearing this, and I've been asked this a lot. I think he'd be the first tackle off the board in this draft.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, last year's tackle class was way better than this
ridiculous. One. Right. I
mean,
Alt might be the 2nd pick in this draft.
Right? Yeah. Last year's tackle class was stupid good.
And they benefited from it.
And that's why they were all over. Sometimes you have to take what what the draft gives you. And right now the draft is giving you edge rushers, defensive tackles, and running backs.
Yep. And the 2 of those 3 positions, I think they'll take advantage of.
Right. Yeah. And so and that's why if you're the Steelers, okay, well, we don't need an edge rusher because we have TJ Watt now, Ty Smith, and Nick Herbig. So Cam Hayward, and was an all-pro, but shoot, he's not getting any younger. He's definitely getting closer to the end of his career. So we might need to start looking for his replacement. And
don't be shocked if they take 2.
I wouldn't be
if they go Nolan and then one of these nose tackles,
CJ
Caldwell,
Yeah.
4th round, even like Black or Smith from Bama in the 5th or 6th, take 2 of them. Those guys are hard to find too. I'm all about taking big people for this draft, and I know that's unpopular, but
it is.
I think I make a strong case because a lot of it's just economics and things you can't find.
No, I do agree with you. Really quick, just final question: what if Broad has a great year? Then you
do jumping jacks.
Yes,
then you have a really good O-line, right?
Yes,
that's what you're. That's the plan.
That's what he was drafted to do. He was drafted to be he was drafted raw. They knew he wasn't going to be a year 1 figure it out guy. He was really raw, especially in pass protection. He was going to take some time to develop, and now he's going to be playing the left tackle. There's no excuses anymore about what side he's playing, anything like that. And if he has a great year, then great. You have your left tackle.
You pick up your 5th-year option, and then you extend them as early as you possibly can, so you don't have to overpay, and it's great.
Yep.
And if I have an extra tackle I drafted in the 3rd round this year, so be it. If Dan Moore's worth $20 million, that guy I can trade, or I can move into guard or whatever. Just give me those players.
Yeah, I totally get that. Beef up the trenches. And it seems like Omar Khan and Andy Weil are both those type of guys, but they like to beef up the trenches because look what the Eagles do. And they just won the Super Bowl.
100%. Last thing I would say about it.
Yeah.
This is the perfect example. Kendrick Green was a 3rd round pick and was a bad football player for the Steelers. I mean, we all agree on that.
Yep.
In his last training camp, they still turned him into a 6th round pick. I mean, there's always a market. There's such a shortage of big men that these cars don't depreciate coming off the lot. And that one got wrecked by an 18-wheeler. You know what I mean?
I mean, no, it's true. And like we have somebody watching here live says Dan Moore is a turnstile.
He's not that great, but he got you a 3rd round pick, and the league thinks he's worth $20 million. If he's worth $20 million, Broderick Jones is worth 30.
Yeah. That's what's
crazy.
That's what's funny about that is that everybody hates on Dan Moore, yet the Steelers netted in the positive. Like they were in the black on what they invested in Dan Moore. Because he's a
tackle. Yeah. That's what people don't get, because he's a tackle and they don't exist on this planet.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's going to do it for us. We will be back at some point next week. It'll probably be later in the week again because we don't get back from the owners' meetings until Wednesday. And it's later in the evening for me. So like Wednesday is out of the question. So it'll
Thursday at the earliest for me.
Thursday or Friday for us next week, for sure. We'll have a lot to talk about. There will be some rule changes, I'm sure, to talk about.
There'll be some scuttlebutt.
Yeah, I'll be curious. And, there is always new information learned at the owners' meetings. I'm really excited about it too. So until we see you guys again next week, thank you so much for watching this episode. And we'll be back next week. We'll catch you guys on the Flippity Flip. We'll see you later.